So going forward, what's the outlook for the beef prices or livestock prices in general? I mean, let's assume that that's all 100% right, that it was mostly that negative feedback loop coming through. How are we looking going forward when it comes to the fundamentals of the market?
It's pretty positive actually now, Ben, for the next couple of years. And I mean, the only caveat I'll put on that one is that we don't fall back into an extended and strong dry spell or a significant drought, because that will always provide a bit of pressure at price. But when you look more broadly to the global picture, where and this is where I go back to the US again. It's not just an important global economy in its own right, but from a beef market perspective, it's probably the lead market that we would look at as a guide to where things are going. And so the US are going through, they're entering into their fifth year of herd liquidation over there, which has meant that their production, their herd numbers are down to, I think, the lowest it's been since the 70s in terms of herd size, and their production's under pressure. Their cold store of meat has been whittled away. So they're relying a lot more now on imported product, and a lot of that comes from Australia or New Zealand and Brazil to a degree. But Brazil, just in the last month, Brazil has actually maxed out their quota. So Brazilian product's now going to be more expensive going into the US. And it means that, in particular, Australian product, even though we've seen a recovery in our cattle prices, we're still very cheap now compared to other global competitors, and also compared to the domestic US market. And that's probably going to persist for at least the next 2 to 3 years. So that's going to mean the demand will be there for Australian product. And in the beef space, that's important because 70 to 75% of what Australia produces in terms of beef is exported. And when you look beyond the US, so the reason why the US is so important, Ben, is because they're a key market for Australian product, but also when you look to countries like Japan and South Korea and China, who are the other big markets for Australian beef, the US are one of our biggest competitors in those markets. So if the US are not competitive, it means that our product is getting greater market share. And so the demand in those other markets will also kind of shift towards Australia. So that's going to mean that the Australian market will be supported price-wise into the next few years, just because of that global demand and the shortage we're seeing in the US.